Yo, yo, y'all ready for this? Yeah.
What's up, Bodybuilding.com listeners? My name is Danielle Bitts, and welcome back to the BBcom podcast. Today, I'm joined by Steve Marada. Steve has over 2 decades of experience in the nutraceutical and sports nutrition industries, specializing in brand development, product innovation, and end-to-end business solutions. He has a proven track record of driving growth and disruptive product development. He's currently serving as the head of product development and merchandising at Bodybuilding.com. He oversees the strategy and innovation for third-party and private label products, leveraging deep insights into consumer trends and category dynamics to deliver cutting-edge solutions. Previously, as Divisional Vice President of Private Brands at The Vitamin Shoppe, he managed a $350 million portfolio of 9 brands, launching over 450 new SKUs. Steve is the co-owner and founder of Genseutic Naturals and co-owner of Inner Armour Sports Nutrition. He founded Insight Nutrition, guiding global nutraceutical brands in achieving market leadership through innovative strategies and operational enhancements. Holding a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics, Food and Nutrition from Montclair State University, he continues to influence the supplement industry through a commitment to quality, innovation, and consumer-centric solutions. Steve, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Danielle. Pleasure to be here.
Excited to have you on, a fellow colleague. We work very closely on the day-to-day here at BBcom, and really the mastermind and the formulator behind all the products that we're going to talk through today, everybody. So, Steve, topic number 1 today, building and breaking down the role of a formulator. Tell us what it means to be a formulator and really the how behind the job.
It's interesting. I've never heard anybody ask me the question that way, like what it means to be a formulator, right? A lot of people always ask, like, how do you formulate? What do you do? How do you go about it? But what it means is really interesting to me because it brings on a whole different topic of conversation for me. So it always starts, bottom line is this, always starts with the customer. Right? So you always put your customer lens on. Who's the customer? Why do they shop in the space? What are they looking for? But at the end of the day, it goes beyond that. You have to really truly get into the consumer and understand the fabric of them. Like what makes up that consumer? What makes them tick? Who are they? What are they interested in? And when you think of this space, sports nutrition space, and you think of a Bodybuilding.com consumer, this is like a rare group. They're cut from a different cloth. And the way to think about it is like these people basically have made a very deliberate decision, I would say. They get up in the morning and work out. Like they want to walk around this world in shape. And that is a very important thing to dig into this consumer because it's a mindset, it's a culture. They get up, they look at themselves in the mirror, they want to be super proud of who they are and what they represent because like at the end of the day, when you're someone that chooses to get up and train and to be in shape and take care of yourself, that's your brand. So like, this group of people that I've always known and been around, like they take so much pride in how they look and shaping their body and just trying to get a little bit better in shape, right? They want to build a little bit more muscle, they want to burn a little bit more fat. And they just want to be proud of the way they look when they go out there in the world, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's how they dress at work, whether it's going out at night. Like, there's an immense amount of pride there, okay? And that's super powerful, because I believe like a lot of confidence stems from that also. So this group, really dedicated. So then when you ask the question, like, what does it mean? Like the responsibility, the purpose of innovating and building a brand, I look at Bodybuilding.com, I look at the logo, I look at the B, and it really has to resonate with that consumer. So what we do here really has to be the same DNA. So our logo has to be the same DNA as the customer. It's not just a logo, it's not just a B. Every single thing we do here internally has to really be exactly what that consumer is looking for. And they may not even know what they're looking for. They just know who they are and what motivates them, what gets them up every day. So we have to be aware of who they are, and it's all of us. Like, we're all cut from that cloth and internally, so we understand the consumer. But then at the same time, I believe there's an immense responsibility to the B and to Bodybuilding.com to push those boundaries at the same time. It's not just a matter of like what we think they want, but they expect, look, they wake up and push themselves. So it's on us to push the formulas, the products, the standards, to always bring them something that's beyond what they expect or what they even know. And that's really what it means. It's a big responsibility to make sure that we're doing that. And the way that I look at it is like iron sharpens iron, right? So like you've got, consumers that are training hard and pushing brands to be better brands. And then the same thing happens on our side as a brand, pushing better products and pushing the consumers.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, waking up in the morning, they're ready to train and we have to meet them where they are. And then we have a responsibility and a duty to help them reach those new heights, right? On a daily, monthly, annual basis. Now, there's a science behind being a formulator, and you have a deep past and experience in the nutrition space. So let's talk about the science behind this and really kind of the formulation 101 there.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of formulas tend to gravitate towards the science, right? And you fall in love with it. If you love this business, you love the industry, you're interested in taking products that work, so you sink into the science, right? So I think that's one of the most important things you do as a formulator. There's a lot of science, there's a lot of science fiction. And look, I'll be the first one to admit I'm an early adopter. I see new stuff come out, I get super excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store. And at the same time, you have to kind of reset yourself and just say, where's the science? Where is it today? What's an efficacious dose? How do we go about this? Making sure that we deliver a product that, over-delivers at the customer level, because we all take these products. We want the products to do exactly what they're intended to do. So for me, it's always sinking into the science, being transparent with the label, and making sure that the right doses are there for the customer.
I think you have to delicate the fine line between innovation and chasing trends, because you and I both know a lot of brands out there are just in the game of chasing trends, and being that viral brand. For you, how important is it to really kind of promote the steady and the secureness, that's been around for decades at this point, to kind of, guide people towards, this is what's been working for 20 years and it's probably going to work for another 20 years, while giving them, throwing a bone and giving them the flavors and giving them the collabs and kind of mixing the two.
Yeah, we're not going to chase, right? So we're going to get excited. We're going to do the research. We're going to look at it, but we're not going to chase the trend, as you say. And sometimes that's painful, because you see products out there, super successful, lots of sales, lots of hype, but we're always going to stay true to what we believe in, and that's, making sure that we're there with science-backed formulas, ingredients that make sense, clinical doses that make sense. And of course, look, there's enough new always coming out, okay? You just have to be on top of it. There's a lot of new science, there's a lot of new interesting ingredients, there's a lot of things on the horizon in this industry that are coming that a lot of people aren't even aware of. So I'm of the mindset that there is always new emerging science. You just have to kind of sort through the ones that you want to sink into that have the real data behind it versus the science fiction.
Well put. Steve, before we move on, to topic 2 for today, kind of walk me through the product life cycle of, you have an idea, you want to start from scratch and create a new line or create a single new SKU. Let's leave it at that, right?
Sure.
Bring us through step 1 all the way through getting it in a customer's hand.
It's a long process. So what I would say is there's a lot of upfront research, right? You're looking at the space, you're looking at the category, you're looking at can we improve it, right? We're not going to do something if we can't make it better, if we can't improve it. Doesn't make any sense. So we start that robust consumer research, data-driven. We're understanding on the pulse, the new ingredients, the trends, all that stuff. We take it all into account, and then we take a look at what we can do to make it even better, right? So that's just part of the process. But what I would say is everything starts with people, okay? And that sounds like a little bit of a strange answer, but like for me, it's like you're building a professional sports team. You're building a business. It always starts with the right people and the right internal culture to want to make sure that they deliver a best-in-class product, right? So what I would say is step 1 for us as a business and as a company is to make sure the right people are here internally that just demand the best, demand that B represents the DNA of this consumer and what we want it to be. So we start there with the people, and then what we do is find the right manufacturers, which is also part of having the right people, right? Being in this for a couple decades, I've been fortunate enough to know a ton of manufacturers, a ton of raw material suppliers. There are literally hundreds of manufacturers in the country. There are thousands of raw material suppliers. So your reputation matters, right? You've been in this business. Manufacturers have been in this business a long time. You know who the best of the best are. You know where to go to get things made. So when we're talking about creating a product and bringing it to life, it starts with that culture internally to do the right thing, okay? And then it's really expertise in knowing who the manufacturers are and who the raw material suppliers are, right? And my approach through that whole process is, trust but verify. So I trust people because I know them for years and I know they have a great reputation in the industry and they do manufacturing for other big companies and brands. But at the same time, we verify. So what does that mean? So let's say we're ordering a product or we get some raw material in the building and it's creatine monohydrate. Well, that goes through testing, right? It goes into a laboratory. And the first thing that they test for is the identity. So they say, okay, is this what we ordered? Is it creatine? So they test for identity right away, every time. They test for purity. Is it pure? Is it clean? Is it potent? Is it everything we wanted it to be? So the ingredients come in, so you handpick the best manufacturers, the best suppliers, you trust them, but everything still gets tested, right, to verify. So what happens is you get this purity, potency, and identity testing complete, goes into production, and then post-production, there's also additional testing. And then beyond that, there's systematic additional testing that goes on way beyond post-production process.
And then where do we go from there? We wrap up the product, it's approved, check all the boxes, right, in your head, and then we're shipping it off to the warehouse and we're getting it in the customer's hands,
Yep,
right?
That's exactly right.
So Steve, thanks for running us through that. I think that's a really important foundational conversation for us to have before we dive into the nitty-gritty details. We're going to slide into topic number 2, which is building Signature. So for those of you who don't know, Signature has been Bodybuilding.com's house brand since 2018. Over the years, formulations have changed and evolved given the demand required by consumers within the industry. Now, with Steve at the helm of BB.com and our product innovation and development, Signature is getting its biggest facelift to date. I think it's safe to say that, right? So removing artificial dyes and coloring, sourcing from U.S.-based farms, ensuring ingredients are at top of the line value and are just, a few of the changes that are being implemented for this upcoming line, Steve. So we're going to start to break it open here, but first we're going to set the stage for Signature. And we're going to talk about the core values, what our consumer-centric approach is, and any R&D insights. But number one, let's start with those core values. We look at quality, transparency, and effectiveness. What does that mean?
It's really a lot of what I was mentioning earlier, about the quality, the transparency aspect of it. It's that entire process, that entire manufacturing process. It's vetting the best of the best manufacturers. It's vetting the best of the best raw material suppliers, and then making sure that we trust but verify and go through that entire quality process of vetting everything that comes into the building to be manufactured, testing everything post-manufacturing, and then even testing further out from them 6 months later, a year later. We're constantly testing product for quality standards.
And when we look at our consumer-centric approach, why these products were created for all levels of fitness enthusiasts, right? So why do we consider Signature really applicable to any fitness level or any health enthusiasts out there?
Yeah, because it really is, to be honest. The nutrition doesn't change, right? So no matter where you are, right? There's always somebody out there. There's a young kid. We all started somewhere. We all came to Bodybuilding.com for advice and information. And the nutrition for them really doesn't change. So if you're a kid and you're getting started and you're just trying to get one plate on each side of the bar, the nutrition's the same as someone trying to get 2 plates or someone trying to get 3 plates on the bar. There's somebody at every level. The nutrition really doesn't change for the most part. How much you need of something could certainly change from a nutritional profile standpoint, but in terms of products being applicable for a lot of people, 18 years and older, it really remains the same.
Touch on some of those points that I brought up earlier about the entire Signature line and some of the key differences from the old to the new. And by the way, everybody, this is yours at the end of December going into January of 2025. The full new line is going to be available with SKUs that are going to be upcoming even later in 2025. But Steve, share some of the before and afters that are key to Signature, like you said, removing some of the artificial dyes. What are we replacing with those? Just give us the high level changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're touching upon them, right? So if anything's not needed it's like get rid of it, right? So there was always a few steps in the thought process. Was one, the quality, so the sourcing changed, right? The manufacturers changed. So we've improved by just going to the best manufacturers out there. Great supply chain. You mentioned U.S. farms, right? So as an example, to play off that topic, like whey protein coming from U.S. farms. Like it doesn't have to. You can get it overseas. You can get protein sources from overseas. So we're changing supply chain of ingredients to improve the quality. We've changed manufacturing facilities on some items, right, to improve the quality and process there. And then we made sure that all the formulas, they did get revamped to make sure that we have efficacious doses, right? So we had what I would call some formulas that were just outdated. Not like bad or anything, just outdated, right? They needed science emerges over years and things change and you need X amount of this ingredient. So we upped things. So things got stronger on label, products got stronger for the most part. And then we removed unwanted, unnecessary items you're mentioning. So like, if products had gluten in it and it wasn't necessary, we got rid of it. If products had, soy in it, we didn't want it, we got rid of it. So really just to clean up, and artificial dyes was one of those.
The celiac sitting across from you, thanks you for the gluten removal. That's great, Steve. Thanks for listing those. I think you and I have had this conversation many times. We really saw a large pivot in the industry since COVID, right? And Gen Pop became a lot more acutely aware of really what they're putting in their body. So we're seeing this massive wave of the higher demand for cleaner products all around. And it's great that Bodybuilding.com is adapting 100%. To that demand.
Yep, no doubt.
So let's get into the fun stuff. Let's break down the new products of Signature. So we're going to get to the solids and the steadies of Signature once we wrap this piece up. But people want to hear about the new products, and we're going to kick that off with the Signature EAAs. Now, this is a product that's going to come in grape and watermelon. And it's packed with essential amino acids, and it has an electrolyte matrix in there, which is huge. I want you to break that open a little bit. But tell us about the benefits of this formula, this product, and why you added it to the Signature line.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's a critical component for our customers, right? It goes back to that customer DNA, what they're looking to do, and making sure that the products support their needs and then some, right? So look, one of the major focuses we know of our customers is building lean muscle tissue, right? So EAA was missing from the line, right? So the way we engineered this is to do precisely that. So what we've done is we've handpicked ingredients, right, that do a few different things. One is literally trigger the muscle building switch, right? So we have ingredients in the product that will flip on the muscle building switch in the body, okay? And that's just part of it, right? You need a few things to do that. One of the things you need is a stimulus from training. Hormones also play a big role. Aminos play a big role. And then what you also need is the raw materials to help you build muscle. So what we did with this formula was make sure that all those raw materials that your body is dependent on to build muscle tissue and increase lean muscle mass is in the product.
Tell us about EAAs in general. When's the best time to take these? Or do we want to stack them with something? What's the best way to consume this product? Yeah,
listen, I've seen a lot of different ways. I don't want to say there's a wrong way or anything. I could tell you personally what I like to do. And how I do things may differ depending on the day and how I'm training and all that type of stuff. But by and large, for me personally, let's say it's a strength day or you're going to go in, you're going to lift weights. I like to make sure I've got a good meal 2.5 to 3 hours before. That's just kind of where I start. And the reason why is I feel better, right, when I train. When I've had something a few hours before, I just feel stronger, period. But the other thing is it's alluding to what you're asking is I like the fact that knowing that there's probably going to be amino acids circulating in the blood from that meal, right? There's a chance, depending on the meal, the size of the meal, Was it a liquid meal versus solid meal, old delays, gastric emptying, and the timing of those aminos to muscle. But what I'm really getting at is I want to make sure there's aminos around muscle tissue during the workout, right? And there are some things that say maybe, maybe not, but what I would say is I want to be sure, right? So for me, it's all insurance, making sure that I have the best environment possible for recovery and for muscle building. So I get that pre-meal, that helps, but then I'm really taking those EAAs, sipping them during the workout, right? I just want to make sure I'm fueling the muscle, I'm not risking anything. I make sure I've got aminos floating in the blood if the body needs them. And, I'd rather make sure that they're pulling them from aminos in the blood than, say, muscle tissue or anywhere else in the body. So for me, it's an intra-workout, within the workout type of deal.
Moving on to signature hydration. So this SKU will be available in lemonade and raspberry. It contains multiple forms of sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, chloride to replenish essential minerals lost through sweat. So we know hydration is having a moment, right? Everybody's out there getting their salt sticks. What sets the signature hydration product apart?
Yeah, well, I think, again, it starts with, what the why. Like, why are customers taking it? Why hydration is important? What are our athletes looking for? And this is a great product because you could take it during your workout. You could sip it. You could take it before. You could take it after. You can sip it during the day. Like, I drank electrolytes during the day just to drink them and to mix it up instead of taking straight water. So for me, electrolytes are just like they sound. They're the electrical impulse of the muscle tissue. So it is super important to be properly hydrated and have the proper amount of electrolytes in the body because of that nerve transmission, the electrical pulse transmission of muscles and muscle contraction. So super critical. I'm also a huge believer in it because, hydration just in and of itself plays a critical role in muscle growth and muscle development, right? You water a plant, it grows. If a plant is dehydrated, it shrivels up and dies. The same thing happens with the cells in your body. Same thing happens with muscle cells. If they are shriveling up, apoptosis occurs. There's cell death that occurs in the body. So hydration alone can really put your body in the right primed environment just for lean body mass and lean muscle mass. And in terms of what we've done with the formula, you mentioned electrolytes. Of course, it's electrolyte loaded, but it goes beyond that. The forms of the product and the forms of ingredients that we've put in here also help with pH in the body, right? They're also helping, buffer that acidity in the body. So the things are chosen and crafted very specifically to make sure that we don't just have electrolytes, but we have things that are clearing out that acid. As you know, acid builds up in the body during training. It can be very debilitating. So we handpick forms of ingredients to help that process. And then we also do something really unique in the product is we make sure you're getting all the minerals, okay, as well in addition to electrolytes. So electrolytes are just part of the story. So we've had sources of minerals of over 72 trace minerals in the product, right? And these can be taken from things like seawater, can be taken from mined minerals like salt, pink Himalayan salt. So these aspects are super critical because electrolytes are dependent upon many different minerals in their enzymatic reactions that they trigger for electrolytes to work.
And to your point, this is something you can sip all day long. This is not just to replenish after a workout or a sauna session. You may not even, it may be a rest day for you, and this is still crucial to get in. I think we're starting to see the tide turn. Like I said, hydration is having a moment, right? People are getting up in the morning and they're looking for that hydration formulation to hydrate after a night of sleep. We lose so much as our body goes through those processes when we're sleeping at night, and we go, 8 hours? Hopefully you're going 8 hours uninterrupted, right? That's the goal, or the hope rather. But I love to see it. And now you did put some electrolytes into that EAA, not to go back, but you put in the EAA. What was the purpose there? Again, just to ensure that hydration throughout the workout.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's there. Look, it doesn't hurt to put electrolytes in a lot of different products, right? You want to make sure consumers are getting them, right? We want to make sure they're getting the full benefits. Not everybody's going to buy multiple products, right? So you keep that in mind and you say, look, I want to be the best products for the consumer no matter what, whether they buy one product, two products, or they're filling the basket, as we say, with multiple products. So it's a very important, component of training and the formula. So we make sure it's in there in other products as well.
I mean, yeah, if we can take care of two things in one powder, I mean, why not?
100%.
Moving on to our third newest product in the Signature line. I'm personally excited about this one. It's our Signature Plant Protein.
Okay.
It's the long-awaited Signature Plant Protein. It delivers 25 grams of protein per serving, and it blends pea, rice, and fava bean proteins to create a complete amino acid. There are a lot of haters out there when it comes to this. I want to talk about why you chose the blend between the pea, the rice, and the fava bean. Sometimes we just see that complete pea protein, but tell me about this product all in all, and tell me about why you chose the formulation that you did.
Yeah, there's a consumer for plant-based, right? Like you said yourself, you're excited for it. So look, we sell a lot of whey. Whey protein's our biggest seller. It's the biggest seller in the protein space. And I think really people have to understand where a lot of this came from. Way back, once upon a time, they started really analyzing protein sources, right? And they would analyze them for what they're made up of, like their constituents within each different protein, right? So they would take a look at dairy protein, egg protein, they'll look at fish, they'll look at steak, they'll look at plant sources, beans, they'll go through the process. And they'll start basically really giving scores to a lot of these things, like, okay, what's in it, how nutritious, how many of these essential amino acids are in these products, and then they take it a step further. How well does your body digest it and assimilate it, right? So when they did this originally, egg actually was kind of like the holy grail. They kind of started with egg and said, like, egg is a perfect score of 100. And then they started measuring everything off of that. And then when they started measuring whey protein, it bumped up above egg, and it became known as like, okay, this is a premier source. So plant-based proteins were always seen as not quite as biologically available to the body, right? So you take it in, and you can take in great sources and mixed sources to make sure you have all the proper amino acids there, but maybe your body didn't utilize them as much. Well, things have changed. Things have come a long way. Biological value of a lot of these suppliers on plant proteins has gone through the roof. They contain all the essential aminos. You're asking, why do you blend certain things? Look, there are a couple of aminos that plants can be a little bit lower in, like a lysine or a methionine, things like that. So what we do is we engineer the product so that you're getting everything you need to build that lean muscle tissue, with those essential amino acids being super critical. So the product delivers. It gives you everything that you need to build muscle tissue. And if there's anybody out there with any doubts, what I would say is just look at the research, look at the EAAs. You can build muscle with many different types of protein sources. And look, if you feel like you need a little bit more plant in the blender, then do so. But tremendous product. And we're excited for the launch because consumers do demand it. And what I would say is whey is not for everybody, right? Even though we know it's 90% of the sales here, what I would say is use your brain. Like, everyone's a little bit different. So if it doesn't agree with you, or if whey protein bothers you, or it's causing mucus, which some people do get from whey protein, that may be a sign that maybe your body doesn't assimilate it and use it quite as well as it may a plant protein. So what I would say is it's something, because there's, for people that really want an alternative to dairy, or just want to reduce animal consumption of products, because that is obviously happening.
Looking forward to it. We're going to move on to our next newest addition to Signature, which is Signature Shred. Love it, Steve. It's very on brand. Designed to serve as a thermogenic fat burner. This has some tried and true ingredients in it that have been used for years now. So what makes this unique to others?
Yep. No, good question. So great product. It's a powder, by the way. So there are thermogenic capsules, and we do have stuff like that, but this is a shred powder in particular. And we really needed it in a powder to get the clinical doses we wanted to get of everything in there. And what I would say is the best way to think about this product is it's multi-pronged. So for me, it always starts with, how do you free up fatty acid cells, okay, from fat tissue, right? So it's kind of like, that's always like the beginning. That's why people, will train a certain way. The goal is to really free up these fat cells and get them moving and get them mobilized into the body, right? So how do you do that with a supplement? People do it with training. You could do slow walk cardio. You can do, high intensity training. There's different things that can really help stimulate the release of fat cells from fat. So we do that by starting with ingredients that help your body release fat from fat. Okay, fat cells from fat. That's step one. Get it moving in the body. Number one, most critical.
What are those ingredients?
Well, certain things like basics, like caffeine, I'll use as an example, has been shown to do that. Just caffeine alone, believe it or not, can increase the mobilization of fat from fat cells, as one example. Then what we do is we hand pick really the only ingredient in the human body that transports fat. So it's like one thing to get it moving, but then you really need to get fat transporting. Like, well, why do we want to transport it? Well, you're transporting it to go get burned, right? You want to bring it to the furnace. You want to burn that fat, essentially. So then we do that. We hone in and we pick that ingredient. And there are some other ingredients that help. There's lipotropics that help, but really we hone in on that one ingredient in your body that picks up fat like a bus, transports it over to get burned. And then we're using thermogenics, things that increase the heat and calorie burning, calorie expenditure in the body. And that's really where it gets interesting, because increasing that thermogenesis, we're sinking into things that have been shown to increase calorie burning fivefold. So that's 500% increase in calorie expenditure. So the product is thought out from that perspective. And then the final part I will say is we also do things that have been shown to help preserve lean body mass. So anybody going through fat burning efforts and stages is always very cognizant about maintaining lean muscle mass at the same time. So we craft the product and engineer it that way, so that we're addressing all of these things for the consumer.
I love the bus driving to the furnace. That's a good one. What's our recommended intake for this type of product? How often are we taking this?
Look, I mean, it can vary, you know. So I mean, we're always going to be conservative, you know, on labels. So you know, for me, it's going to be a scoop, you know, but it can be done a couple times a day for sure. You can scoop once or twice a day, no problem. You can take it daily. You know, you can take it pre-workout. So there's a lot of different ways people will take it, but it's a daily use for sure.
Great.
Yep.
We're going to go into our second to last new product for Signature, which is our appetite control. So with the craze around GLP-1, we are coming out with an appetite control that will help curb cravings and help you feel more full. Let's spend a little bit of time on this one, right? Because appetite control supplements have definitely had their highs and lows over the years. Let's talk about the why behind this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, I mean, the funny thing is you know, I love the science on GLP. I love it, brings awareness to it. But the truth of the matter is like, you know, a lot of these products and ingredients have existed in nature. You know, I mean, when I look at things, it never ceases to amaze me. It's like whatever there's a need in the world or for something or a goal, there's a plant for it. Like there's literally a plant, like nature has a plant for it. And that's where a lot of these pharma drugs, you know, get their inspiration from and stem from. But in terms of like appetite control, we're going to do it regardless of the GLP craze, right? Because it's always been a tried and true category. There's always been a customer that's really, you know, looking to curb appetite. I think we all are, right? We all could walk around and eat all day. So, you know, this is something we were going to do anyway. So, you know, keeping the GLP theme. And again, some of these things are not new, but just that you have to understand what ingredients to hand pick and what you're looking for. The product is engineered to do a few things, and research shows, like what we're including in this product. Research shows that certain ingredients, certain herbs, can just stimulate your body's own natural GLP production. Okay, which is unbelievable. So just again, they've been out there. They've been in the nutraceutical world for a long time. There's just the attention hasn't been brought on them because it hasn't become, you know, mainstream conversation. So we handpick an ingredient that basically helps your body produce and trigger, at least some science shows that triggers natural production of it. But then there's also other things that, you know, act like a GLP-1 agonist is what I would say. So like a mimetic, like it'll work as it, right? So then there's also ingredients in nature gaining a lot of popularity. They gain popularity for GLP implications. They gain popularity for anti-aging applications. But there's also the ability to put ingredients in here, which we did, that'll also act in a very similar fashion to a GLP agonist, which you're seeing out there. And then there's ingredients that help the entire process, the whole process of this, how this happens with GLP and the pancreas and insulin, and then getting to the cell. So then we add ingredients that kind of enhance or amplify the entire process as well.
Incredible. Now, is this something, I'm on day one. Is this going to work on day one, or is there some ramp up time?
Everything works the minute you consume it, right? I mean, like it starts working, right?
That's how it goes.
People ask that all the time, but I mean, theoretically, like everything starts working, right? No matter what you take, whether it's hydration or you're taking your EAAs for muscle protein synthesis, everything starts working the minute you consume it. But of course, like every place, it's the same thing. You go to the gym, you work out, it works day one, right? You're doing something.
My biceps 10x bigger day one.
Not necessarily, but but they start working. Everything starts working. But of course, consistency is the key to all this stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for breaking that one down. We're going to round it out here with our signature diuretic. So last but not least, it's our weight management product and a new addition to the line. And this is really aimed to help with bloat reduction, water loss. So tell us a bit about this one.
Yeah, another very popular category in the diet arena, right? Like people always looking to shed a little bit of extra water. Some people carry extra water. Very popular during the summertime. Diuretic sales always ramp up dramatically then, but you can take it obviously year-round or any time. But, same thing. We're engineering it with mainly a blend of herbs, right, that have been shown to help get rid of excess water in the body and really help that process. But what I like what we did on this one is we also added something that's going to make you sweat, okay? So you get a little bit of you get that thermogenic activity here with this product. It's not just your traditional blend of herbs that are going to help from a diuretic standpoint, but you will sweat from this product. You will know that you're shedding water, and you're going to get that diuretic component. And you're going to feel this one for sure. I would say not to overdo it and really take it slow, because it's going to create that sweating effect.
Is it going to create that sweating effect even if I'm just sitting here?
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah,
Love it.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a diuretic. You're trying to get rid of water.
Love it. Steve, thanks for walking us through all the new additions to Signature. We're so excited to see those in 2025. We're going to move on to what we consider the steadies of Signature. So we'd be remiss not to mention the heavy hitters of the line that have been at the core for, the inception of Signature, really. So we're going to break those down similar to what we just did for the new edition. And we're going to start that combo with our number one, our Signature 100% whey protein. So we love a whey protein at BBCom. Our customers love a whey protein. Talk about all the things that we've kind of touched on, the sourcing, the benefits, the use cases, et cetera.
Yeah, number one seller by far is protein, and rightfully so, right? Because it's food, right? And that's when people ask me what to take, where to start with. It's like I always think into food first, right? So that's why, protein is one of the reasons it's so popular, right? It helps people straighten out their diets, right? They can take it instead of a meal. They can take it in between meals. It's quick. It's easy. It's a good snack. It tastes great. And really, you're getting that full nutritional profile, right? You're getting 25 grams of protein. You're getting all of your EAAs, right? You're getting almost 12 grams of EAAs in a scoop of protein. You're getting huge amounts of BCAAs in there, all things that basically muscles depend on for muscle energy or muscle protein synthesis in the body. Great taste, great nutritional profile, low calories, right? Low fat, low carb. It really checks all the boxes as a nice, easy, clean source of protein. And you did mention, we talked about it a little bit, but U.S. farms, right? Let's not understate that. It's here, it's local, it's transparent. We know exactly what's happening, and you can visit the farms, you can go see them. There's a sustainability factor there. Also, we're not flying stuff all over the globe for cheaper prices. We're sinking into local U.S. family farms and manufacturers for our whey protein.
Love that. Tell everyone about some of the unique flavors that will be coming out for the 100% whey.
Sure. Chocolate and vanilla dominate, but, we go beyond that as well. Like fruity cereal is really popular one, so you're going to get that fruity cereal. You're going to get a cinnamon cereal, which is just unbelievable. So those are just, great tasting flavors. There'll be strawberry in there, which is a fan favorite. And then, of course, we're going to be adding to that as we go. There'll be flavor drops ongoing for the entire series.
Awesome. Excited for that one. We're going to move over to our signature 100% whey isolate.
Okay.
Let's go 101 for a second. Let's talk about the difference between a whey protein and a whey isolate. Just 101.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So some similarities, of course, right, and some small nuances, but there are different customers for each, believe it or not. So the way that I would say to think about it is a whey blend. So our whey blend does have some isolate in it, and it has what's called whey concentrate in it, okay, as well. So I'll say a couple things. It's less processed, okay? A whey concentrate is typically less processed than a whey isolate. So what does that mean? It's in its more natural state, okay? So when you get a whey concentrate, there'll be things naturally occurring there. It'll have a little bit more fat in there, a little bit more sugar, carbohydrate in there, and then it'll also have some of the immune benefits in a lot of cases that just come along with whey protein, with mother's milk, right? None of that gets stripped out. There's a lot of things, immunoglobulins, things that are needed for an infant or for a calf or a baby that are basically delivered through the mother to that infant. They're more likely to still exist in a concentrate. So you get some immune benefits to it. It does carry a little bit of fat and a little bit more carbs, and it can also be generally a little bit cheaper. So, if people don't care an extra gram of fat or an extra gram of carbs, and it saves them $5 on a container, that's who really is going to pick up that whey blend.
What are we looking at flavors there? Similar to the whey protein?
Yep, no doubt about it. Yeah, similar flavors as a start and where we are today with the base flavors, but certainly going to expand there.
Awesome.
Yep.
Our favorite, Steve, creatine monohydrate. Creatine is king. So let's talk about, creatine monohydrate. It is an absolute staple right there with the whey protein for us. Just break it down for us. Let's just talk about why we hold creatine on the pedestal that we do.
It is hands down the most popular supplement of all time, right? Outside of protein being food and like we just discussed, the single most popular ingredient ever is creatine. So your question's a good one. Like why? Like how did it get here? Like why is creatine king, as you just said? And what I would say is, understanding again the consumer, what their goals are. Right? This is the holy grail for strength and lean muscle building, right? So I think that says a lot about the consumer base, right? And who they are, and they're waking up, they want to get stronger, want to go to the gym, they want to look better, they want to add strength, they want to add lean muscle tissue. So how does creatine do that? I think is your question, or why it does that. So think of it this way. Easiest way to explain it is this. You wake up, you get to the gym, you start training, even as we're talking here, your body is using things for fuel, right? Just to function. So let's say you mentioned bicep curl. You start doing a bicep curl and you start that exercise. Your body's gasoline is ATP. So it's really relying on ATP to do a lot of that function, right? So you start that bicep curl, you're using ATP for energy. That's your body's gasoline. The problem is the gas tank runs out quick. Like ATP, and this is like crazy, since your whole body relies on ATP for everything, you only have enough ATP to last, I've seen anywhere between 3 and 8 seconds. It's probably between 3 and 5, most people say. You just have a very small amount of ATP in muscle cells that allow you to do that exercise and do that lift, right? So what happens? Like you burn it, you're 3 to 4 seconds in, you start depleting ATP, your body's in a mad scramble mode to make more ATP. And it does this from a lot of different fuel sources. It can pull a lot of different things in the body to do so. But really what's sitting there waiting to be converted into ATP is creatine. So now your body is turning to creatine to make more fuel, to make more energy, to make, to allow your muscle to keep firing during that exercise. So that's why this has become the holy grail. Because we know you only have so much ATP sitting there in the muscle cell. We know it's only going to last you 3 to 5 seconds. Now imagine if you had more of its backup energy source sitting there right next to it in the muscle cell. If you can get more creatine into that muscle cell so it's readily available, well, that's a lifter's dream. That's why they always said it's a football player's dream, the short burst activity dream for these athletes, because it gets you stronger. It gets you an extra rep or two on the bench. It makes you fire faster and run a little bit longer in terms of a sprint speed. So creatine's become the holy grail because of that. It also has some other side effects to it that I like, in my opinion. It helps the muscle hold water, okay, in the cell, right? That's very different than extracellular fluid. This puts intracellular fluid inside the muscle cell, right? And we talked earlier about the benefits of hydration, being able to have better performance. You get more endurance out of hydration. But just adding water to that muscle cell helps put it in an environment, where it's primed for growth.
Now, creatine does not discriminate. So creatine, I've put my 65-year-old parents on creatine, which is awesome. They take a protein powder and they take a creatine powder every day because creatine, we've now kind of uncovered more recently, not only the benefits that you spoke to, Steve, but a lot of cognitive benefits as well. There's starting to be some research around, Alzheimer's, dementia, et cetera, really brain-impacted diseases, and how creatine can play a positive role in the possible prevention or lower risk associated with some of those diseases. So all around, our motto here is creatine does not discriminate. All walks can really be taking this fantastic supplement. Now, I think something that a lot of people ask about for creatine is the loading phase. Is the loading phase, tried and true? Do I need to start out with a smaller dose to start? Am I ramping it up? What are we doing here?
Personal preference, right? And I've done both. I've done both. I've talked to a ton of people.
The motto at this podcast is it depends.
It depends. Yeah. And that's just everything in life, right? So what I would say is, for me, I do believe personally that you will load. See, the goal of the reason you're asking that and why that became popular is because people are like, well, how much can actually saturate in muscle? And how long does it take to be fully saturated, like really top the gas tank off completely 100%? So there was a lot of research and people saying like, okay, if you took a scoop a day, 5 grams of creatine a day, you're going to slowly build up levels, right? You're going to start filling the gas tank, but it may take you a month to do so, right? That was a lot of traditional thought. So then people said, hey, if you want to fast track it, take the speed pass, right? Take this multiple times a day, right? You might take 5 gram scoop 4 times a day for a week, and that would get you there quicker. So what I would say is it's really personal preference for people. I don't load anymore, but I did load, and I did find that it did fast track things for sure, no doubt about it. So, but again, personal preference on that. And the other thing I'd say too, just on your comments about it's for everybody type of thing, the other important thing here to notice is like you mentioned your parents, right? Or people that are in their 60s, and like creatines can be super beneficial. You mentioned potentially for cognitive, and there is ongoing research on the cognitive front, right? But really what's interesting to me is just the muscle strength aspect of it, because there's a lot of research that says like, muscle strength, being strong when you're older, decreases all-cause mortality, as they say it, right? So like if you're strong when you're older, you live longer, right? They do a lot of measurements, like the measurement of grip strength, it like determines these things. So, just, as the research evolves to see what exactly how it's working in the brain, because people aren't really 100% sure how, they're saying like it may even be physiological. It may even have to do with the fact that your muscles are stronger that's impacting the brain. So they're still researching that. But the fact that it can help people be stronger is super important for elderly.
I love that point. I mean, maintaining the autonomy physically is so crucial to avoid the risk of injury as you get older. But to your point, we have proven now the higher muscle mass, the decrease in the all-cause mortality. I hear all the time, we're going to be the Jack generation. We're going to be the grandparents that are walking around with the tattoos and the big biceps because we're going to continue lifting. It's great to see the generations who maybe didn't grow up in the same gym culture really starting to adopt this type of lifestyle, open to taking some supplements, open to strength training. We say it all the time here, just like creatine and hydration are having a moment, strength training is having the moment. But you and I often say this, BB.com's been doing that since day one. I mean, BB.com's been talking about creatine since 2002. We'll pull up the whole website for you here. And, obviously strength training has always been, at the core of our business. So all in all, that's a bit of a bragging point, but it's great to see, the masses really start to adopt some of this stuff.
For sure. Big impact on bone density as well, as you're talking about, while we're on the topic of elderly and aging, and it may be weight-bearing exercise and strength may be the most important thing for bone density as you age as well. So
yeah, I think let's say people in their 60s or above, back to my point before, maybe they were really coming up in a time where aerobic exercise was the key and the king, right? It was, let me get on the treadmill, let me get on the elliptical. Okay. Not a lot of strength training in comparison to what we're seeing today, but muscle production actually starts to slow as early as 30 years old. And that's pretty crazy. So the earlier you can start adopting this routine and getting muscle on your body and maintaining that through the older ages, the better.
No doubt.
Signature pre-workout. So you have added an electrolyte mix and lion's mane into the new Signature Pre. Well, tell me about those choices.
Yeah, again, so we tweaked the formula. We had a pre-workout, so we enhanced it, made it better. And a couple of things that you do mention are new additions to it. So the electrolytes we covered pretty much in depth and why that needs to be in there. And, and like I had said earlier, we're just trying to put it in whatever products we can from a hydration standpoint. It's that important, right? So I just want to make sure whether you're taking a pre, you're taking an EAA, or if you're buying electrolytes separately, I just want to make sure you're getting those electrolytes in everything you do. It's that super critical. And then we did add a cognitive component, a cerebral component there from lion's mane. Lion's mane, even goes beyond that, in my opinion. So it's known as the brain mushroom, right? But what I would say is there are adaptogenic properties in there as well from a physiological standpoint. So it just makes sense. I'm a big mushroom believer, take a lot of different mushrooms. So that just was a natural choice to be added to that product. Cognitives is critical. When you take a step back and you look at all the products in the stores, all the products that you can buy, we're so focused on the body and the organs and the muscle, and we neglect the brain, right? The thing that's controlling everything is often overlooked. So I think it's important that, that finds its way. It's nice to see that that's finding its way in sports nutrition finally.
And I love that throughout this dialogue and us covering all of these products, you continue to just kind of give people really more bang for their buck. Like, let's just call it that, right? You're injecting everything that they really need into a single SKU. So if pre-workout is your thing, well, guess what? You're also going to get hydration. You're going to get some of that clarity and that cognitive benefit. And we're seeing, that show up in some of the formulas that we've discussed today. So just so impressive to see. And it's the right thing to do, like you said, for the customer.
No doubt.
We're going to round it out with signature BCAAs. Now, Steve, we have some naysayers out there. Are BCAAs still relevant today? You added an EAA. Do we still need BCAA? So differentiate the two for us.
So we definitely need both from a consumer standpoint. There's no doubt about it, right? So the history and why the evolution, you really have to have been in it for quite some time to see it. So BCAAs got a lot of notoriety in the beginning, like years and years and years ago.
And BCAAs are branched chain amino acids, and EAAs are essential amino acids.
Exactly, yeah. So branched chains are just that. You look at them under a microscope, they look like a tree branch. They got their name that way. No other scientific meaning other than they look like tree branches. But why did people hone in on these? They honed in on because they made up roughly 30 to 35% of muscle tissue, okay? So anytime you have ingredients that are concentrated in muscle, people start looking at it from a sports nutrition standpoint, like, well, why is this 35% of your muscle tissue? What do they do? They are involved in some muscle energy while you train. They're there. One of them can't be oxidized for energy. It's there for muscle building itself. So, people started selling BCAAs, and consumers started buying BCAAs, and BCAAs were the rage, as well as glutamine, which is, 60+% of muscle tissue as well. So these aminos really got a ton of hype, right? And rightfully so. They're in muscle tissue. I drank BCAAs forever. And then what happens is, science continues to evolve, right? And that's why I love the business and the industry is like you're always pushing the envelope on what's next and what's better. And that kind of goes back to our early conversation about the consumer. Like sometimes you know who they are, they know what they want, they know what their goal is, but sometimes they don't really always know what they want. Like they want BCAAs, but now science is saying you want EAAs, right? So what's the difference? Basically, easy way to say it is the EAAs are 9 essential aminos. You need all of them to build muscle, okay? So it's like building a house. You go out there, you say, hey, we're going to build a house. Let's do it. Let's go. You need the raw materials to do it, to construct that house. The BCAAs are 3 of them. Okay, you need 9 essentials. What does that? What does essential mean? It means you can't get it or you can't make it yourself. You need to get it in diet, right? So your body's not going to make it itself. So therefore, it becomes essential to the human body to consume it. Okay, you need all 9 of these essential amino acids in order to build muscle, construct muscle. So the BCAAs, valuable, yes. Drink them, yes. People still buy them like crazy. It's super beneficial. If you're asking me if I had to choose one or the other, it's EAAs all day long.
Awesome. So topic number 5 for today, Steve, we went through the signature new, we went through the studies of signature. What's next? Because we don't stop here. We know signature has a road ahead of it, and we're going to talk about signature series and beyond. So what kind of sneak peeks can you provide us for upcoming products, flavors that potentially are in development?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Oh, come on, Steve.
But
this is the exclusive.
What I will say is what we have today. You know, we have a lot of new products coming in. It's really the core, is what I would call it, right? Your whey proteins, your pre's, your electrolytes, your aminos, your creatine, your test booster. You know, we have the whole gamut: diuretics, the shred, you name it. Next generation is stuff that's really emerging science around leveling up things that will, you know, cost money, be more expensive, be maybe even different series in the line. But those are things that we're working on in the background. There's some really exciting science happening, and what we're doing is we're going to sink into a lot of those things. You mentioned flavors. Yes, there will be flavor drops. There'll be fun flavors. We're working on insane flavors right now for some of these products that we're definitely going to continue to launch. In terms of new formulas and exciting formulas, there'll be boundary pushing formulas that come next from us.
How important is it for you to hear back from customers on some of this stuff in terms of the feedback, in terms of how you're taking into account, you know, potentially future decisions around, you know, what you're thinking? You know, how important is it to hear from the customers who are consuming from the products that you're formulating?
It's the most important thing ever, like, period. You know, the customer, you know, the transaction doesn't happen in an office or behind a computer, or, you know, this happens real life, customers making decisions, doing research. You have to understand what's going on in the market and what their questions are and how they think and like what their goals are. So like, we think we have a really good idea, but things are always evolving. You have to listen to customers. It's number one. And I take it beyond that. It's like, this isn't like, hey, let's you and I come up with concepts and ideas and just go to market with them. It's a combination of everything. It's a combination of, you know, what's research say, what's the customer say, most importantly, what's internal team feel, like what do you feel as a customer? You're a customer. Like, I want to know what your thoughts and feelings are around product and why to do it and why to launch it. So innovation comes from everywhere. Every facet of our building comes from our customer service team. But customers are obviously at the forefront of all that.
I love that. And if you're a customer who's listening and you've tried Signature old and new, we invite you to share your thoughts and feedback here in the comments of this episode. Hit us up in our DMs. Our team is always ready to take those on and chat with you. And hey, escalate to Steve Marada, our very own.
Of course, let's do it.
So we're going to round out the conversation today, Steve. It's been such an insightful sit down with you, but we want to know about Steve's stack. So you've been doing this a long time and you practice what you preach. Why don't you break down your daily stack and, you know, why are those your personal supplement go-tos?
There's too much there to go through. What I would say is this.
Let me think of it. Let's do what are your top 3?
Well, it depends, right?
Oh, it always depends.
Always depends. So what I would say is if it's sports nutrition minded, okay, let's just say we're sports nutrition minded, because there's also an anti-aging component going on in my brain every day. So what I would say is from a sports nutrition, it's always start with the core. Start with the basics. Make sure you get your protein, right, daily. So for me, it's protein every day. Okay, it's a shake every day. And maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, but it's at least 1. So I would say that is tried and true, the core. For me, the second thing is EAAs, right? So a lot of people will be amped up on a lot of pre-workouts, and that'll be their next go-to, and that's really our next best seller is a pre-workout, rightfully so. My issue is that I consume a lot of caffeine and a lot of coffee in the morning. So that's kind of my pre-workout. So like I kind of do like a lot of caffeine, and then I do my EAAs with it so that I'm making sure. So for me, it's protein 1, EAAs 2, And then number 3 would be creatine, just because you have to for strength.
Awesome. Steve, thanks so much for stopping
You didn't
by
ask
today.
anti-aging stuff.
Well, hey, I mean, I think I'm looking at our producer, Carly. I think that's going to be a part 2. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Stay tuned, everybody. Steve, thanks for stopping by today. We're excited to see Signature back and better than ever, and can't thank you enough for stopping by. We're excited to see it all come to life.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for tuning in to the BBCom podcast. You can shop our Signature line series on Bodybuilding.com. Build your body, build your mind, build your life.
Yeah.